Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Joshnaks 2023 programming language tier list. Um, I know you guys have been waiting for this, waiting for my opinions to drop. I know you value them really highly. So watch through, see where your favorite programming languages end up on the tier list, and scream in the comments about why I'm wrong. It all counts as engagement, so that's a win for me. So let's start off with Python. Python is kind of the programming language that a lot of people know, even people know of. Even if you've never done programming, you've probably heard of Python at some point or another. It's really good at gluing things together. It's got a lot of really useful libraries. It's really easy to understand. However, I just don't really care for the syntax. I mean, I don't like how, you put white space to change the scope of your code. So I don't think I can put it any higher than a B tier. So there we go. Python B tier. Moving on, next up is Rust. A lot of people feel very passionately about Rust. It is a really cool language. The environment for Rust is really nice. The compilers, the package manager, how it all comes together. That's all very nice. I love cargo, and I love how when I have an issue on compile time, it can literally point out where it thinks the error is. It's super nice. However, like with Python, I don't care for the syntax. I also, this might be controversial. I'm just gonna say it. I don't like how Rust variables are immutable by default, how they're constant by default. I think that's stupid. I don't like it. It comes from functional programming and functional programming ideas, which just makes me dislike that more. I think for now, until I use Rust more, I'm gonna leave it low B tier. I'm gonna leave it low B tier, high C tier. We'll just have to see where it ends up while I'm filling out the rest of this tier list. So we'll just stick it right there on the edge. Next up we have Lua, which is the programming language that people use to make Roblox stuff. I literally know nothing else that Lua is used for. So Lua has brought a lot of joy to people, but I have also seen many abominations created in Roblox. And unfortunately, for all of the good that Roblox has, there's 1,000 other bad things that are there that maybe aren't as popular, but Lua is still responsible for them. I'm gonna have to put Lua... Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to put Lua in D tier with that little Roblox face. Lua, D tier. Up next, we have Ruby. Ruby is literally just Python. You can do web development with it, with Ruby on Rails, but that's basically all it is. Python, without the recognizability actually, I might have to put Ruby down into C tier, just because it's not as recognizable as Python. And some people might be, I can hear all you Ruby fans whining in the comments. You can say, "Oh, recognizability doesn't matter." I disagree. Just for now, I disagree. Up next, PHP. This is the language that 60% of the web still runs on. It's 80, 90, 110 years old. It is terrible. You will want to die if you use PHP. Your job will be secure though. You'll Yeah, no one will fire you because they won't be able to find another PHP dev. Um, but PHP F tier. Go, I used to, well, Go, it's a language developed by Google. It's fairly lightweight, I think. Honestly, I haven't used Go a lot, and I guess that is similar to a lot of these other languages, but I did use Go a little earlier this year. I just barely remember using it, so I would put it in D tier, just because, but I happen to have a plushie and playing cards of the little Go Gopher here, so I'm gonna have to put Go up into C tier. You know what? Go, it goes higher than Ruby in C tier because, like I just said, I have like things to do with Go because of their logo, because of their goofy little guy, their mascot, and that's how you do recognizability. Ruby, take notes. Next, assembly. I'm just going to be talking about x86 assembly because that's the only assembly I've worked with. Assembly, it looks like gibberish, and that's because it is. But when you can actually like learn to read it, which I know seems like impossible, but if you can learn to understand it just a little bit, you feel like a wizard. So I'm gonna put x86 assembly in B tier, just because it makes you feel like no other language feels. Low B tier, x86 assembly. Next up, we have Haskell. Haskell is a functional programming language, and what that means is that it sucks. Functional programmers, they don't like mutable variables, like I was talking about when we were talking about Rust. They're snobs. I don't like functional programming. I don't like functional programmers. They put up posters all across campus saying, join functional programming. Functional programming is the best. They're the kind of people to use Arch Linux, I don't know how you pronounce it, and tell you that you're a dweeb and a nerd for using Windows, saying you shouldn't use Windows as a programmer. Maybe I want to make applications for Windows machines. What should I use Linux? If I want to make an application for a Windows machine? No, that's stupid. I don't want to keep switching between machines. Anyways, Haskell, F for functional programming. Next up, we have C. My feelings toward people who use C are very similar to people who use Haskell and other functional programming languages. There's a big overlap there with their attitudes on programming. They're the kind of people who only use Emacs or Vim or just straight VI, and say that if you use like an actual IDE or VS Code or something, then you're subhuman. So yeah, C users suck. The C programming language, it's okay. It's really old, and most popular modern programming languages base their syntax off of C's in some way or another. It's notoriously difficult to work with safely because you can mess up a lot of things with your memory very easily using C. All that considered, I think there's only one place that C can go on the tier list. C tier for C. Next up is Java. So Java is a not very well liked programming language online, I have noticed. I was not, honestly, before last year, I was not a very big fan of Java. I had barely used it, and I thought everything being an object was stupid. I didn't care for that. But now I've used it a bit, and I really like object-oriented programming. Say what you will, I'm above y'all. So, Java, it's okay. It's pretty nice. It's really nice. I would put it in B tier, but it's also what the best version of Minecraft is programmed in, and the best Minecraft mod is also programmed in that, so I have no choice. Sorry guys, my hands are tied. Java in A tier. Not high A tier though. Low A tier for Java. Next up is Fortran. I can't imagine I'm gonna get a lot of blowback on this, because it is one of the few languages that people actually know that's older than C, I think. I think Fortran's older than C. I'm gonna fact check that. But it's still super old, and F tier. F for Fortran. Okay, next up, C#. So C# is just Microsoft's version of Java, basically. It's an object-oriented language that runs on a virtual machine. And I love it, actually. It has all the parts I like about Java, but it doesn't use that stupid Boolean keyword. Instead, it uses bool like any other rational, strongly typed language. And it can tie in a lot of really nice stuff. You can also set up graphic user interfaces really quick with C# and Visual Studio. So C# goes in A tier. I don't make the rules, I just play by them. C# A tier. Next up, C++. Now, C++ is a bit of a controversial language. It was initially supposed to be just C, but with objects. I'm sure a lot of you know that. But it's evolved into something kind of like its own monster. C and C++ both have massive challenges to actually being proficient in them. I'm actually less good with C++ than I am with C, because I have not used it. I don't know if I've used C++ almost at all in the past year, where I've had to use C for classes and whatnot, but it does have that ++ there, which means by definition it kind of has to go above C, don't you think? So C++, C tier, right above C. And you know what? Right now, let's put Rust up into low B tier. I think the Rustaceans out there, I think you guys have earned it. Next language, JavaScript. Gonna be a little bit controversial with this as well. JavaScript, it's what runs on your web browsers. That runs, you have a little engine in there. Most of your browsers are probably Chromium, unfortunately, so they run on the V8 JavaScript engine. What also uses the V8 JavaScript engine is Node.js, a massive framework and machine and whatnot that a lot of people use for web backends, a lot of other stuff. I used it for Discord bots. That's what I started doing on like this part of this channel. So yeah, I really liked JavaScript almost purely because it was like the first programming language I actually started like learning in. It objectively, is it great to use? Not a lot, but it's pretty simple to learn the basics of, at least. I recommend that everybody learns JavaScript a bit. I say the same thing. You should learn C# too, definitely, but JavaScript as well. I think JavaScript deserves its spot on the A tier. It gave, oops, sorry Rust. JavaScript kind of gave us the modern internet, and whether or not that's a blessing or a curse, it deserves the A. So, JavaScript, A tier. So our next language, F#. I know you can't really make it out very well, but that is F#. So, F# is another functional programming language. So you might expect me to put it right into F tier just for that. But oh, I left a chunk of F# right over C++. Sorry about that. But F# does run on the .NET engine, the .NET virtual machine. So moves it up a little bit because you can include F# with your C# code. You can write whatnot and then put them together into one program and it'll actually work. So if by some miracle somebody ever finds an application for functional programming, you could include it in your actually good C# program without much issue. So F#, D tier. And last, certainly not least, we've got TypeScript. So TypeScript is it is JavaScript, but it has it's strongly typed. So when you declare your variable, that's what it is for the rest of the program. You can't change it. So like with JavaScript, you can have like a variable that starts out as like a number, and then later in the program you can change it to a string, and then later to an object. It's nonsense. But with strongly typed languages, it can't change its type. If it starts out as a number or an integer or whatever, it stays that for the entire program. So that's pretty neat. But also, who needs that, you know? At the end of the day, TypeScript just compiles down to JavaScript. I know, hey, this might be controversial, but TypeScript, it's just not that great, is it? It just turns into JavaScript. It just rides on top of its older brother's coattails. I can't put TypeScript any higher than B tier, top of the B tier. It's just, you gotta find your own identity, dude. It's kind of embarrassing. So, with that, that's my tier list for 2023. So you can take a final look there. All the programming languages. I'm sure almost all of these are going to change, like with the exception of PHP and Fortran. I cannot imagine that I'm ever going to move either of those out of F tier. I'm for sure going to be learning a bit more about functional programming this next year, so maybe Haskell can find its way out of the doghouse. If you're still fuming and sweating and crying, you can leave a dislike or you can leave comments in the replies. Be sure to argue in the comments. I do read all of them, but be sure to argue with each other. It's all engagement, pushes this video up. I love it. Subscribe so you can catch next year's tier list. And Happy New Year. We'll see where we'll see what kind of projects we'll see what kind of wanky projects I come up with in the new year. See ya.